value add strategies and maximizing the return on your renovation. We're going to get into that today and really kind of work through, whether firstly renovations are worth pursuing, if it's going to be fitting you and your overall strategy and which ones we should pursue, what are some of the pitfalls and what can be some key areas we need to navigate through along the way. So we're going to get into that just right now. So I guess the first question is, renovations, do they matter and are they really worth pursuing? And for this one, I guess it's really important to be adaptive as an investor. And what I mean by that is I see a common mistake across the property investing industry where one thing worked initially for a period of time and, because we got a return from that, it must always be the way we look about things. But, things change, costs change, there can be changes in laws, etc. So for us, we've always got to be a bit adaptive. So here at an advisory level, for us as a business, we used to pursue quite a lot of renovations in a lot of purchases because the return on investment on a renovation was much stronger. We were getting close to 2 to 3 or more for every dollar we spent. So the return on that was almost like a leverage renovation. You're putting $1 in, you're getting $3 or more back for every dollar you spent. It was great. It was worthwhile pursuing. But what we've seen, particularly post-COVID, is we've had, labor costs soar, material costs soar, and we've also seen longer delays on these types of renovations. So they've really kind of scaled back, and you need to be really strategic in determining whether it's worth pursuing a renovation, and also what is the cost benefit, because I feel quite strongly when I'm speaking to an investor and they're weighing up whether to purchase one property now and then do a cosmetic renovation on it, or potentially purchase 2 properties at the beginning, or potentially they can purchase 1 property now and they're very close to having a deposit for a second property purchase. Which is the benefit of going for either? So I guess in my opinion, we will go into renovations in deeper parts throughout this. When you're building out a portfolio, the acquiring of assets is what's really going to build your wealth and fast track that, because we are dealing with leverage. We saw that in a prior module where we're getting really strong leveraged returns, sometimes as much as 10x for every dollar we're putting in. So it's really important to remember that in terms of, if we want to speed our wealth creation up, it's that leverage that gets us there, not necessarily, how hands-on we are as investors. And then secondly, kind of counter to that, renovations can take time. If you're a working professional, you're a dentist, a doctor, a business owner, sometimes it's really important to double down on your strengths. If you're earning a 6-figure salary and, you have the options to go, well, hang on, do I go out and pursue doing these renovations? I'm out there every weekend or after hours doing these renovations to save some money. Or do I double down on what my day-to-day revenue generation is and, pour more time into that? I invest in terms of getting an education upskill, or I put more overtime into work. Those things are typically going to get you a far greater return than doing the renovation pathway, but it still doesn't mean it's not something that we can't get some kind of return on. We just need to be really, really calculated with it along the way. So I guess when we get to the renovations, there's also 2 key types of renovations. Firstly, there's cosmetic. So, kind of light work, which we'll get into more so in this. And then secondly, there's structural. So structural ones, you're typically going to need to be working with experts in the field, potentially structural engineers, architects, etc., to be able to go down that pathway. But we want to make sure that good investing is about mitigating our risk and, making smart decisions. In terms of the benefits of renovation, so there's a few. So firstly, we've got value of uplift. So in an ideal world, we spend $1, we get $2 back. Not so much the case in the current climate. We get an uplift of the value of the property. Secondly, there's less stress involved in having an asset. Potentially, if the kitchen and bathroom's in better condition, the floor's got less wear and tear, you potentially have less things to worry about from a maintenance standpoint. Which then has a compounding effect into the tenants. You may have more choices in terms of which tenants you choose to bring on, and also you can choose better quality tenants and keep them longer. So that's another benefit of that. We've then got rental yield. I will say at the moment, because vacancy rates are so tight, and I guess we're talking about October 2023 right now, the benefit of a renovation isn't quite as strong in terms of the rental uplift. So because the market is so tight, unrenovated properties versus renovated properties, there isn't as big as a price gap as there has been, say, prior to COVID. There is still somewhat of a price gap, but still it will get you a better return on your yield. And then lastly, there's tax benefits. So, you know, that renovation, if done correctly, can be a depreciation against that property, and you're getting a return on that in terms of come tax time as well. But I guess one of the big misconceptions when it comes to renovations for clients is kind of understanding that value uplift and which ones we should be pursuing and which one we should not. So I want to get through that a little bit more. So firstly, when we get into bathroom renovations, so having seen a number of these over the time, these are the ones that can really blow out costs exponentially. So people get in there, they've got good intentions for their bathroom renovations, they start pulling things up and then realize the waterproofing's been terrible and they need to completely reframe, and there's a huge spend or overspend there. So for here at an advisory level, we're only really focusing, if we don't even do bathrooms and kitchens at the moment in terms of an advisory level, we want really low cosmetic stuff. But if we were to revisit it, the kind of things we'll be looking for is very minor cosmetic stuff. So talking about updating toilets, there's upgrading vanities, shower screens, you know, things that really are quite move in, move out. Upgrading tapware is a very good way to, I guess, provide some visual improvements in an area without a significant cost. Then you've got the painting your walls, tiling, even tiling. You know, in an ideal world, we just look to re-tile over the existing tiles or even paint over them. And then upgrading laundry troughs and cupboards in a laundry area can really provide value. And kind of just giving a few examples of that here. So we can see a bit of an older bathroom here. We've essentially repainted the existing tiles. You can see here that there's no new tiles there. They've actually just been repainted. The bathtub still is the same one. We've simply put in a new vanity and we've put in new tiles. There is new floor tiles. They've been retiled over. But this is a great way. You can see there's a dramatic improvement visually from renovation like this, but structurally we really haven't, extended ourselves here on this renovation. And then this one here, it's not too much different either. We've got in there, we've removed those older soap handles on the wall there, but just replaced the tiles, painted over them, and we've put in a more modern shower kind of bath combo there, put in a new vanity. The mirror looks to be exactly the same, and we've repainted it. Again, it gives it another fresh kind of look. So these kind of renovations in the bathroom setting, they can get you a bit of a return. At the moment, I guess at an advisory level, we're seeing about $1.25 to $1.50 back for every dollar spent. But then you've got to be smart about this. You know, how long is that renovation going to take you to complete? Because if it's taking you 4, 5, 6, up to 8 weeks or more in some extreme circumstances, that is 4 to 8 weeks of lost rental income. So again, we've got to be smart. We've got to calculate these numbers, weigh up the costs and the benefits of it along the way. If it's going to return us $50 an extra week, potentially we can close that gap. But these are some of the things to consider. Another one here where we're looking at where we've kept the original toilet. We've repainted over so there's no repainting of the tiles here. There's just new floor tiles. There's a new vanity, tapware, etc. So again, freshens it up, and it's a very minor in and out job. Then we get into the kitchen space. So in the kitchen space, kitchens are where they can become a money pit pretty quickly as well. It's quite an easy way to overcapitalize on a kitchen. So just adding things like new bench tops, they can be quite cost effective. Handles, so just updating your cupboard handles can be a cost effective strategy as well. Tapware, you can actually go quite a long way just repainting your existing cupboards. It's not always possible, but depending on the condition that you're in, if you're doing it yourself or dealing with a painter, repainting your cupboards is a new way that you can go about it as well. And you've also got a refit of a completely new fit out. There are some prefab kitchen cabinetry out there as well, but that's typically your way you want to go about it in the kitchen space. And we can see one of them here where we've had a bit of an update of the kitchen. We've freshened that up. We've put in a new bench top, which has given it more an updated look, new cabinetry, new tiling, etc., which really goes a long way. And then we get into general renovations. So general renovations, we're talking about all the rooms outside of your kitchens and bathrooms here. So this is a space where really we want to be extremely strategic with it. because some of these renovations can actually help us in terms of our maintenance wear and tear later on. But we're talking about things like flooring, painting, window finishings, lighting, even depending on if you're already going down there, you wouldn't want to do this just standalone, but upgrading little light switches and power points along the way can really modernize the look of a property as well. And even things like door handles are not necessarily going to give you a huge return, but depending on what you're looking for, whether it's a valuation uplift or whether you're getting ready to prep to sell the property, these are some of the kind of key strategies you can look to go down when it gets to the renovation pathway. And looking at some internal areas here. So in this place, we've updated the flooring, given it new paint. It's a big improvement there. This is another really big improvement in this living area here. We can see the lighter paint, upgrading the lighting, changing the flooring has been a big improvement to that area. It just definitely feels more modern. And then when we get into painting, I guess the basics of what we want to follow from the painting side of things is we want to be using white colors only. There's obviously this different spectrums, right? But ideally, white colors. Dulux is normally a brand which we use heavily here in an advisory level, but plain white colors. And the reason being is it helps create more light. And from the lighting terms, like those lighter colors capture the light and reflect better. So we want to keep that there. But it also increases the feel of the room size. So the room feels more open. It feels like it's a bigger space. So it's one of the big powerful things that painting can do. And painting can make an old tired property look fantastic. A huge uplift by just the painting. I guess getting an insight into costs, painting isn't as cheap as people think it may be. It's not just as simple as just getting a few paint tins and working out the cost. Your painter is typically going to charge you somewhere between $6,000 to $10,000 for an internal paint. So again, it's not a cheap exercise to go down. You do need to weigh up the cost benefits of the return going down the painting pathway. Then moving into flooring. So a bit of expertise knowledge here in flooring. So I guess the common mistake I see people make when it comes to flooring is they rush down to Bunnings, they buy the cheapest lay down floors down there, and not understanding that those products are not going to stand up to the test of time, particularly if you're just getting something like laminate flooring. We've come a long way from laminate flooring. My advice to somebody looking to lay new flooring down would be to lay hybrid flooring throughout the premises, excluding the bedroom areas. Hybrid flooring has far more wear and tear in it. It's scratch resistant in a lot of cases, but the biggest one is it's water resistant. So it's not waterproof. You're not going to be able to just have water go under it and sit on it for weeks on end. You normally get about 3 days. But for an investment property in particular, hybrid flooring is going to be fantastic, because your problem with your laminate flooring is that firstly, it's not waterproof or water resistant. So the tenant comes in there, spills something on the floor, is away for a couple of days, you get a water leak, pets peeing on the floor, whatever it may be, that's going to cause that laminate flooring to contract and expand and then uplift. Also, too much sunlight on those older laminate type of boards as well. They start to lose their protective coating and they scratch quite easily as well. So even if you think you're saving a few dollars per square metre, you want to avoid your cheap Bunnings floating floor laminate, and you want to just spend that tiny little bit more and go down the hybrid pathway, because you will probably keep that for 3 or 4 times the length. And then when it gets to bedrooms, some people do put the floating floor in the bedrooms as well. A lot of people prefer carpet in the bedrooms as well. It's also, you can sometimes, in some instances, depending on which type of carpet you go down, you can patch repair some of them. So if you're getting something like a loop pile carpet, they are very, very hard to patch repair. So I wouldn't normally suggest getting a loop pile carpet. Be more looking down your poly blend carpets, which they're going to be resistant to things like carpet moths. They're easier to patch repair. If a tenant happens to leave a light bulb that's touching the floor, or an ironer or a hair straightener, they are not going to singe and burn as fast as some of those other cheaper loop pile carpets as well. They get far more wear and tear as well. So looking at those type of carpets, even in your bathrooms or toilet areas, you're probably going to want to stick to basic tiling, or even hybrid options if it's the right hybrid option can work for you in the flooring space. But again, flooring is not a cheap option. It will absolutely have a dramatic impact to the presentation on a property. Now, is a tenant going to pay an extra $30, $45, $50 a week for a new flooring in a property? Probably not. So again, weighing up those cost benefits is a big one. Then when we get into lighting and window fixtures. So lighting and window fixtures, they can have a dramatic impact to the feel of an area as well. And when we see a huge, I guess, visual improvement in presentation when you've got downlighting going through living areas, particularly through long dark hallways or big living areas as well. So that can have a dramatic uplifted improvement as well. But then you've got even your blinds or your curtains that you're using in an area can have a big impact. They can be quite low cost. It is important from a rental property perspective as well, is to understand what your state or territory requires from a window finishing perspective. Some of them require you to have blinds and or curtains that might be blackout as well in all the bedrooms, all the living areas, etc. So working with a good property manager will help you understand that. Now, personally, have good experience in this space. I would normally recommend people to get a roller blind, probably ideally a dual type roller blind where you got your block out and your day privacy blinds as well. And again, big mistake I see people make is they rush down to Bunnings and buy the cheapest blinds that they can there. If you spend that little bit of extra money, your better quality roller blinds, they'll be mold resistant, particularly in kitchens, bathrooms, laundries, even in bedrooms. If there's not good ventilation, you're going to have to replace these blinds and curtains every few years because of mold. So getting mold resistant ones, they're easier to wipe down as well, whether the tenant's doing it or you're coming in there for a yearly clean to do it. Spending a little bit of money in the longer term, you're going to get a better return on them as well. So these are the kind of things to weigh up, but it has a big impact in presentation as well. Going into the outdoor spaces, some of these are really quite low cost. So roof sprays, you can get them done for $2,000 to $4,000 for a complete roof respray, and it gives really, really strong street appeal. Now, how much value add is that going to give you is up for the debate. Pressure washing, pressure washing all the driveways, the front tiles, the backyard. Again, that's a very low cost, particularly if you're out there doing it yourself, but it has a huge street appeal and presentation level increase. Then you've got fence painting. So that's a moderate to low cost route you can go down to, again, increase the appeal. And it's also, you'll typically tend to find that some of the boards will actually last a little bit longer if they are painted outside, particularly depending on your climate, I should say. And then you've got remulching. So garden remulching, just getting a few bags from Bunnings or a local nursery, remulching all your gardens can, again, really improve your street appeal. Now, you might only do that every time you're going to release the property. Again, you want to increase the amount of candidates coming through, or potentially when you're looking to offload and sell the property. In terms of value add, I don't really think you're going to get many valuers come through and give you a couple extra $1,000 on your price because the mulch is looking good. But yeah, again, it's not a bad strategy to go down. But then we've got our dead renovations. So our dead renovations are more so, you don't want to be chasing these ones. These are you're going to likely have to do these because you need the item repaired, or you're part of the negotiation process and these items need to be fixed, or you know what you're kind of getting into through the building and pest inspection. So they include things like restumping, new gutters into a place, plumbing, electrical upgrades, like those things, and you're not going to see any value add. If anything, you're probably going to lose money. You might spend $15,000 on the stumping and get next to zero of that added back onto the value of the property. A little bit, it'll help you in terms of in your building and pest inspection. You get more comfort from the inspector when they come out, but it's not really going to increase anything in regards to that. The next part is subdivisions. So subdivisions, again, we're talking about strategies which, are in vogue or not in vogue. It's not to say you can't make a profit chasing the subdivision strategy, but what I will say is rising costs of building and rising costs of subdivision have made this particular strategy very hard to execute. Even at an advisory level, we're working with professional developers who do this as a living. They've got access to builders and better building margins than the average person doing themselves. It's very hard to turn a profit. You're typically going to need to be towards a much higher price point. So more towards the $1 million price point or higher to make this strategy effective. But there's a couple of different strategies you can go down when it comes to subdivision. So the first one, we've got knockdown rebuild. So on a knockdown rebuild, we've got 2 properties on the lot. We may be looking to knock one down and split it straight down the middle in 2. Now, you're typically going to need quite a wide frontage to be able to do this, particularly in your Melbourne and Sydney areas, because they like to see larger, wide allotments, some around the kind of 10 metres or more, but it's still a strategy. Then you've got your buy and split. So at an advisory level, we used to do this quite a lot 5+ years ago, where we were buying large blocks, particularly in Perth and Adelaide, doing subdivisions on them, and would either subdivide the back component and sell it off, always renovate the front, or subdivide the back component and build. But again, this strategy in the current climate is just not really an effective strategy. Potentially in 5 or 10 years' time, it becomes an effective strategy, because who knows, we might have kit homes that can be built at a really cost-effective and time-efficient level. But as it sits in the current market, it's just not really a cost-effective strategy to pursue, in my opinion, for most people, but it is a strategy unto itself. So next I want to talk about conversions. And what I mean about conversions, it could be something like converting a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom place into a 3 and 2, or a 3-bedroom home into a 4 or a 4 and 2, whatever it may be. Are they worth pursuing? How hard are they to find, and what can that kind of look like? So let's get into that just a little bit. So, firstly here, we're looking at a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom property. Here we can see this first bedroom is actually quite wide. So we've already got a master robe in there as well, a wide robe, but it's quite a wide room. So there is potential that we could do something here. If we really wanted to get tricky with it, potentially we've got, that laundry back here is quite big as well, a bit of a wasted space. But at the end of the day, this garage seems to be detached. So we go into here, and what we can see here is if we have a look at that master bedroom, we maybe lose about 1 metre or so by putting a wall partition, and all of a sudden we've got a nice vanity in there, we've got a shower, we've got a toilet, and we've created ourselves an ensuite. So little things like that can be worth pursuing, and same as if we've had another property here where, let's just say that garage was a rumpus room, for example, potentially converting that into a 4th bedroom is an opportunity. But the things I like to tell people, I've seen many clients, like these properties in itself are very hard to find. Outdated floor plans where they haven't been effectively used for the space that they use today. So, a floor plan today, the architects aren't wasting too much space as potentially in prior years, but typically I only really see it come up in one certain state where I find these types of properties. But at the end of the day, I've seen clients spend the best part of 6 to 12 months or more trying to find these perfect properties where they were fixated at having this 3-bedroom into a 2-bathroom property, or this 3-bedroom into a 4-bedroom property, I should say, being the main aspect of their whole strategy. It really is a nice add-on. I've seen other modules out there trying to tell people that when you convert a 3-bedroom into a 4-bedroom property, that you can increase the property by $100,000. Well, I really hate to break it to those people, but in most instances, when we're doing apples to apples instead of apples to oranges, most 3-bedroom homes are on inferior land size allotments. So though you may get an increase in the value, it'll typically be somewhere between $50,000 to $60,000. At the end of the day, when the valuer comes in to value that home, they're going to look at all the improvements. They're not just going to see that you've added another bedroom, they're also going to see that the land sizes are different, so you won't get that full fair evaluation. Now, it may make that complete 100% value match in terms of at the rental side of things. That is absolutely correct, or close to it, but on the valuation side of things, not so much. So just don't get sucked into it. Like I said, I've seen people wait 6 to 12 months on this. And the reason that's a big one is because if you're waiting on the sidelines to find this unicorn property or needle in a haystack. Like at the end of the day, at an advisory level, it's 1 in every 500 or 600 properties that we actually look at, we actually purchase. So that is in only 1.5% of suburbs across the country. If you're getting that refined, you might be looking for that long to find the property, and you could have been out of the market for 6 months to 2 years, missing out on leverage compounding growth. On the scheme of things, you may have missed out on $50,000 to $150,000 worth of growth just trying to find this perfect strategy. So don't get fixated on it. If you find it as an addition, it's a nice must-have, but even for us here at an advisory level, we very rarely find them, and we don't make it the main part of our strategy, but it is a different strategy that you can pursue nonetheless. And the last part I wanted to cover off is, does the deal stack up? So before we pursue a renovation, we always have to run through our numbers in terms of leaving ourselves a bit of a 5% error of buffer, potentially maybe even 10%, and running the numbers. I would normally suggest, before you commit yourself to a project or a renovation project, to reaching out to a few agents, asking for some comparables and letting them know what you're kind of looking to do, potentially getting them to come do a walkthrough as if you're prepping the property to sale, and what X and Y renovation may return to you, and seeing if those are going to stack up. Because a big mistake people make is they think they can do the renovation and that click of their fingers they can get that value extracted straight from the property. As a minimum, most banks are going to make you wait 6 months to be able to extract any kind of value. A lot of them are making it 12 months now. So again, if the deal stacks up, absolutely go out and pursue the renovation. But if it doesn't stack up, you may be better off continuing to pursue more asset accumulation, and that's something that you need to weigh up every single time you pursue a project, and if it fits in with your overall strategy. In my opinion, with clients I work with, we normally look to acquire as many assets as we can in the accumulation stage, and then later on, once we've executed on that, we may look to come back and revisit the renovation piece, if that makes sense. Guys, I hope you found today's enlightening and you walked away with a bit of knowledge and something away from it. The next, we're going to start to get in talking into sourcing properties, things like on and off market, and working our way through negotiations from there. So thanks again, and enjoy the next one.